Guys, and welcome back to the Saints View, the channel for Southampton content, for another transfer video as we look at the current squad and I give my opinion as to who I would keep, sell or loan out during the course of the summer transfer window. But before we get into it, guys, do go and subscribe if you haven't yet already. We're on the road to 500 subscribers as we look to hit our bigger goal of 1,000. So if you subscribe, we can get that as soon as possible. So it'd be much appreciated. Turn notifications on as well so you don't miss any of our transfer content over the course of the summer, and go follow us on our socials as well for exclusive content. But let's get into the video. Now the way we're going to structure this is I'm going to do it by positions, so goalkeepers, midfielders and strikers. Starting off with the goalkeepers and starting off with our number one, Angus Gunn. Pretty simple, we keep him. Promising keeper, looks like he'll be number one, he stays. Now for the other two, Alex McCarthy and Fraser Forster, it's a case of, for me, one of them will go and one of them will stay. For me, I think it will be Alex McCarthy, so I'd sell him and keep Fraser Forster. In an ideal world, it'd be the other way round, but I think McCarthy wants first team football and Forster's not going to go anywhere because of his wages. And then the final goalkeeper is Harry Lewis, who hasn't had a first team appearance this season, hasn't had one since under Claude Puel, I don't believe. I'd loan him out. I think he's got some promise, but apparently he's been quite shocking at times for the under 23s. Trains with the first team on match day. He's sort of the third goalkeeper when Forster hasn't been involved, but I'd loan him out, see if he's got a chance. And then if he's not good enough on his loan spell, then we get rid of him. Now on to defenders, starting off with Maya Yoshida. For me, I think we should keep him. He's clearly a good leader. I think he's got another year left on his contract, so it may be a farewell season next year for him. But a great servant and a decent option at the back when we need to rotate. Yannick Vestergaard, I'd keep him. He's obviously been here for just the one season. Jack Stevens, now he's someone I would sell. I don't think he's been impressive at all since he's come into the first team. He's obviously been a scapegoat this season as well. I think if we do need to clear up some funds, we could get between £8-9 million if we sort of get a steal for him, but he's not a very good option in my opinion. Ryan Bertrand, some have said that he should go because we could get a younger and better left back in. I think he's decent, I'd keep him. Alfie Jones, now he hasn't made a first team appearance yet, has been on the bench a couple of times, was at St Mirren I believe on loan, and I would loan him out again this summer, maybe to a League One or Championship side, see how he copes with real high quality English football in the low leagues. Obviously it's not Premier League quality. See how he copes with that, because he's been very impressive for the under 23s, and if he does succeed down in the Championship or a League One, then maybe he could get a look in under Hasenhüttl or whoever is manager at the time. Matt Targett, the other left back, I would keep him. I think he's a decent option as backup. Obviously he's not going to be first choice, he's not good enough for that, but when we need him, he does okay. Jan Bedrek, obviously keep him, no debate needed there. Jan Valery, obviously again, no debate there, keep him. Kane Ramsey, now I think he's an alright option as backup. Obviously he's still very young, I think he's only 18, 19. Personally, I'd loan him. I think it'd be good to see how he does, even in the Championship, probably going to be League One. Looking at him, obviously he's only made a couple of first team appearances but has played against Manchester City, so I think if he was to go out on loan, it would give him a really good opportunity to play first team football. That would be the main concern though. He would have to be first choice at wherever he went. Now Wesley Hoyt, who has spent the second half of the season on loan at Celta Vigo, I'd sell him. I think we could get near and around 10 million for him. Again, a bit like Stevens, not really been good enough. Bit of a scapegoat as well, in fairness to him, but there's a reason why he did go out on loan for the second half of the season. He's clearly got no future at the club, and so I think it just makes sense to sell him and not loan him out again, cash some money in, and obviously use that to bring in another centre back. And then finally for defenders, another loanee who spent the second half of the season on loan, this time at Inter, that's Cedric. Again, I don't think he's got a future at the club. It's quite clear to see that for me, and so I'd sell him as well. Like Hoyt, we could get around 10 million for him. Who that would be, I've got no clue. It looks like with the emergence of Jan Valery, he probably won't be first choice if he was to stay, so it makes sense to me just to get rid of him and cash in. Now going on to midfielders, starting with Oriol Romeu, I'd keep him. Been decent this season, very solid, a decent option off the bench if we do bring someone else in that position. Ward-Prowse, very obvious, keep him. Stuart Armstrong, I'd keep him. I think he's had an okay first season for the opportunities that he's had. Some fans have said we should sell him because he's just not going to get game time. I think he's a good option off the bench if we do need to change a game, so I'd keep him. Now this one is a little bit debatable. Mario Lemina, personally, I'd sell him, and that's not because I don't think he's a good player. I do think he's a very good player, especially on his day, but he seems to be the one that we'd have to sacrifice if we do need to sell to buy in this window, and according to reports that may be the case. and we could easily get around £20 million for Lamina. Obviously he's got pedigree playing for Juventus. On his day he's fantastic skills, a lot of talent there. He doesn't implement it as consistently as we'd like, so obviously if he stays I'd like to see him be given an opportunity, especially in a more advanced role as opposed to defensive. But if we do need to sacrifice someone to sell and so that we can bring players in, I'd sacrifice him. Nathan Redmond, very obvious player of the season, we'd keep him. Pierre Højbjerg, again one of the players of the season, keep him. Josh Sims, now he's another one that could go out on loan. I'd personally keep him. I think he's another option off the bench that could impact again. I wasn't too impressed with the way he finished the season. Well, he only had about 5 appearances in the end. Played very well when he came back from Reading on loan against Spurs, but towards the last couple of games he wasn't great. Maybe we loan him out again, but I think he's a decent option. Obviously got a lot of pace and he's still young. Tyreke Johnson made a couple of first team appearances. I think maybe, what was it, against Derby and against Arsenal he came on, didn't he? I can't really tell from those two performances whether he's good enough for us. I'd like to see him go out on loan, obviously play first team football. He's done okay for the under 23, one of their best players. So I think now we just need to see whether he can cope with regular football at first team level, whether that's in League 1, the Championship, even down in League 2, preferably not League 2, but I think say League 1, Championship, see how he does. And another youngster, Callum Slattery, he's made a handful of first team appearances in and out of the Premier League and the Cup. He looks a very good prospect for me, one of the better players in the under 23 side, but I'd also like to see him be given more of a chance with first team football, and that would be going out on loan. I'd like to see him go out to a Championship side. You know, we've seen plenty of young players succeed in the Championship and then get big moves to the Premier League. Obviously in this situation he'd be coming back if he succeeded and we'd have a decent player there. So I'd like to see how he coped in a tough league with first team football, preferably in the Championship. If it was League 1 then okay, we accept that, but I don't see him making too many appearances for the first team in the upcoming season, so I'd like to see how he copes with regular football as a first team player. Now going on to the loanees for midfielders, starting off with Jake Hesketh. Started the season on loan at Burton Albion, did okay, scored in the quarterfinal of the League Cup, also got a goal against Pompey, but he didn't really impress too much. He came back in January and then pretty poor from the club, sent him down another league, down to MK Dons in League 2. One promotion with them, excelled, but naturally he would in League 2. I think that was a very poor move from the club, putting him all the way down there. Does he have a future at the club? I'm not too convinced. Personally, I'd loan him out again, but this time a decent League 1 side, if not a sort of mid-table relegation threat in Championship side, see how he does there, and if he doesn't succeed in that situation then I think we do have to look at moving him on. Now Jordi Claessy, haven't really seen much of him since the Puel days, well nothing at all really. He spent the last 2 seasons out on loan, one last season at Bruges, this season just finished at Feyenoord. It does look like he'll be gone again. I can't see him staying around at the club. Apparently he doesn't like England, he doesn't like the league, etc. So inevitably I think he'll be gone. How much we'll get for him I'm not too sure. I think it'll be £5 million, but I think it's inevitable that we have to sell him now. Now this is one that's been a little bit controversial. Sofiane Boufal, we've mentioned in our loanee video, if you go check that out, whether we should keep him or not. Liam said we should, and I agree with him. I do think we should be giving Boufal a chance, at least up until January. Hasenhüttl will get to see him in pre-season and obviously decide whether he's got any say in his first team plans. But we know how good he is, you know, the amount of skills he's got up his sleeve. Shooting ability on his day is fantastic. It's just about the consistency and the effort, and if we can find that, we will have a very good player on our hands. And so I think it's stupid if we just get rid of him straight away. We need to give him a chance, especially under a manager like Hasenhüttl. You know, we've seen the likes of Redmond, Højbjerg, ward-prowse all being key players under Hasenhüttl. Redmond and ward-prowse especially being 2 that have really developed under the new manager. So I'd like to think we could do the same for Boufal. And finally, the other loanee in midfield, that's Harrison Reed. He spent the last season out on loan in the Championship at Blackburn Rovers. Decent player for them. He also spent the season before on loan at Norwich in the Championship. For me, I don't really see a future for him. I don't think he's made too many first team appearances over the course of his time in and out of the first team. I think now we have to accept the fact that he's not going to be playing and sell him on. We could easily get around £5 million for him from a Championship club if Blackburn wanted to bring him back to the side. Even Premier League clubs such as Burnley have been linked with him. So I think now we have to say goodbye and just cut our losses and take some money. Now finally going on to forwards. Starting off with Shane Long, I would have said sell if you'd asked me around February, March time, but the end to his season has been remarkable. Was it 4 or 5 goals in the end? You know, obviously he's not going to be a first choice striker, but he always puts the effort in. Under Hasenhüttl, his finishing's gotten a lot better. He's been a lot more shrewd with his finishing, and obviously that led to goal scoring. So I think he's an asset for us next season and we should keep him. As for Danny Ings, I think it's the same situation. Obviously one of our better strikers, if not the best striker we have at the moment. Yes, injury prone, but he's clearly a very good player on and off the ball. You know, we've seen his movement. I think he's been quite underrated in that sense, his passing ability as well. Overall, he's a fantastic footballer, and he's, for me, our best striker. I do think we need to bring one in, but we've just paid, 16-20 odd million for him. I think we need to be definitely implementing him as one of our first choice strikers. Now, on the other hand, a striker who I think we should definitely be selling, and it seems inevitable that we will, is Charlie Austin. It's quite clear to me that he will be gone throughout the summer. When that is, or where that is, we're not too sure. But his antics on Twitter the other night were amusing. Yeah, I think it'll be a case of 5 million, between 5 and 10 million for him. Probably will go to the Championship, if not a relegation threat in Premier League side. I don't know, maybe Sheffield United, someone like that. I'm not too sure where Charlie will go, but it's inevitable to me that we should be selling him. Another forward that I think we should be selling is Elyounoussi. I mean, the fact that we paid 16 million for him is an absolute joke. No assists, no goals, no future. We have to cut our losses, cash in. We've wasted too much time sending players we spent a lot of money on who haven't worked out on loan. I think we need to cash in for him because he's clearly got no future. If we can get 10 million for him, I think would that be okay. Another striker I'd sell is Sam Gallagher, and he has been linked with a move away to Blackburn Rovers, and other clubs in the Championship have been reportedly interested as well. It looks like it'll be about around £5 million. Another academy lad, but he just hasn't done anything successful in his Premier League, in his Southampton career. Obviously a couple of loan spells in the Championship, was given a chance to stay this season, but hasn't taken the opportunity, didn't really get the chances, in fairness to him. And I think it's another one where we just have to accept that he's not going to have a future and we just cash in now. Another striker I'm not too sure on is Michael Obafemi. I think we should be keeping him for now. You know, he did get his first goal against Huddersfield, but there are plenty of reports about how he isn't too professional, he doesn't keep himself fit, and so I think it will be make or break for him. Maybe a loan spell would be a decent opportunity for him, but I think he's got talent. I think his finishing is decent, you know, a lot of pace, so I'd be keeping him. Hopefully he is fit for pre-season after his injury back in February kept him out for the rest of the season. But I think pre-season's massive for him because he now has to prove a point about his fitness and how he is an asset to the side. Now, a striker who hasn't really made much of an impact on the first team, well, he hasn't really made an appearance. I think it's a handful of minutes in the Cup against Derby. That's Marcus Barnes. Now, if he's not even starting for the under-23s, I'm not convinced that he will be starting anytime soon for the first team. He has had experience of a loan move before. I think he spent some time at Yeovil down in League 2 last season. For me, I think we should loan him out again, see how he does. If he hasn't got any success down League 1, I guess it would be, we just let him go. And then finally, Guido Carrillo spent the last season on loan at Leganes in La Liga. Hardly made an impact for Southampton, but he didn't really have the opportunity to. I think it wasn't fair, the situation he came in. Obviously, it was clearly Pellegrino. Signing Pellegrino left within 2 months of him being at the club. And yes, we've spent a lot of money on him. I think it was 19 million in the end. Actually, it's probably still our record transfer, isn't he? I don't really see a future for him. I think Ralph will be looking at him in pre-season, seeing if he's got any sort of value to add to the side, but personally I'd sell him, just accept that we'll lose a bit of money, hopefully get around 10, 11, even 12 million pushing it for him. I think he's got talent to an extent. Obviously got an assist or two for us, didn't score, but the situation he came in was shocking, and I think it'd only be fair to give him an opportunity through pre-season, but I can't see him impressing. I can't really see him having an impact on the squad, and so I think we do need to just cash in, especially if it means that we can invest, using that money that we get for him and getting in another striker who would be actually first choice. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. If you have enjoyed it, remember to leave a like. Let us know your views on who we should be selling, keeping or loaning out over the course of the summer window. If you haven't yet already, do go and subscribe. Like I said at the beginning of the video, we're on the road to 500 subscribers, looking to get to 1,000 as soon as possible. Turn notifications on so you don't miss a single thing throughout the summer, and we'll see you in the next video.